What do you suggest?
Take these shackles. Put them on me.
When you think of games like Red Dead Redemption or Shadow of the Colossus, you aren't reminded by just the story or the setting. You're reminded of the sensation the game gave you from the first moments of playing. From the opening act of Witcher 3, you can feel that this game is something special. While the adult fantasy tone is unique, it's something more than that. The Witcher 3 was released in 2015, and it was developed by CD Projekt Red. The Witcher 3 was released on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I'm playing the PS4 version. I'll be reviewing the entire game, including the 2 story DLC expansions, Heart of Stone and Blood in Wine. I've never played a Witcher game, and you won't need to either. There are a few references to the other games, but The Witcher 3 has an in-depth character glossary if you're interested. The Wild Hunt opens with Geralt of Rivia looking for his ward, Ciri. Ciri has gone missing, and Geralt needs to find her before the Dark Riders, known as the Wild Hunt, find her. While Geralt looks for Ciri, he encounters countless characters along the way. This is The Witcher 3's true strength: strong characters. The menagerie of rogues and companions Geralt meets along the journey of The Witcher are exceptionally well developed. Their personalities are distinct, and that's helped by The Witcher 3's excellent writing. The Witcher is based on a series of books, and this leads to much better characterizations than most video games. The basic hook of The Witcher is that it twists fairy tale tropes into its own narrative, much in the same way that the comic book series Fables did. Like Fables, the retelling of long-held tales isn't just putting the witch's gingerbread house in a new setting or making Hansel into an action hero. The Witcher recontextualizes these stories into its own world and mythos. One of the best illustrations of this idea is in this scene. We all know the famous scene of Don Quixote, where he attacks a windmill thinking it's a giant. Let's watch The Witcher's take on this scenario. This is what The Witcher constantly does. It takes something recognizable to the audience, then braids the original tale into The Witcher's world. The Witcher 3's realm at first seems bleak and hopeless. It doesn't shy away from challenging and sometimes disturbing subject matters, but The Witcher doesn't use these scenarios for shock value alone. The characters are flawed, and the situations they find themselves in is hard to assign judgment or blame. The subtlety with which characters are presented in the story and the nuanced situations Geralt and the other characters find themselves in are interesting. Now, I'm no fan of nihilistic, postmodern storytelling, and The Witcher manages to present challenging and complex characters without losing its heart. As the story progresses, you discover that while Geralt's world is a harsh one, it isn't without levity or a sense of, dare I say, fun. This is most exemplified once Geralt finally finds Ciri. I wish that there would have been more story with the two of them palling around. The moments they share together are some of the most poignant and most gratifying.
Fine, let's play for it. Rock, paper, scissors. Damn it! 2 out of 3!
The Witcher 3 has loads of side content, but unlike other games, it makes the content feel important. The side quests add more to the lore. It's like a novel where the main character spends a chapter with some random character. You never see them again, but it adds to the story. I spent a lot of my time in The Witcher doing side quests, exploring dialogue options, and generally trying to soak in the world. Not many games suck you in quite like The Witcher 3. The other cool storytelling device is that The Witcher allows you to make decisions in a meaningful way. While it may not change the outcome, it does give you a sense of agency over the story. The first of the 2 DLC stories is Heart of Stone. This is a tale of, I think he can tell it better.
What I find fascinating are true tales, true human lives, like the one I shall tell you now. It's about a man, worse than most. A vulgar, despicable man with a heart of stone. A man who refuses to pay his debts.
Really think this'll interest me? Any reason why?
He's wronged you as well. His name is Olgierd von Everett.
Geralt gets hired to kill a monster, and this setup seems unfitting for a major story addition. Geralt has literally killed hundreds of monsters by this point. Once you slay the beast, it turns out that Geralt has been set up. He's captured, and the only way he can escape is by owing a favor to a mysterious man. Now indebted, and given a scar to remind him of his pact, Geralt must complete 3 tasks for his debtor. The first task is hilarious. Giving it away would do a disservice to all of you watching. Just imagine Geralt in a Weekend at Bernie's or Freaky Friday scenario. The writing in this setup is outstanding. The dialogue is full of glee, and the situation situations are genuinely funny. The second task is a bank heist. I really enjoyed recruiting my crew, and there's a twist at the end of the mission that had me genuinely surprised. The third task is the most cerebral, dealing with how much impact an abusive lover can have on their spouse. The finale ends with a choice. Playing both left me feeling cathartic and satisfied by the ending. The Blood and Wine DLC is an excellent story expansion, but you should wait until you've completed the main story before starting it. Blood and Wine opens with Geralt being hired by a duchy to investigate a series of murders of ex-knights. The story then transports you to the land of Toussaint. This land is in stark contrast to the other regions of The Witcher. It lies to the south of the continent. Unlike the cold, bleak northern territories you explore, Toussaint is sun-drenched, with lush vineyards and picturesque castles. Beneath the beautiful landscapes and shining armor belies the same sinister forces that inhabit the rest of Geralt's world. Political intrigue abounds in the Blood and Wine story, and the tale will take you for a ride that will arrest you all the way to the final act. Throughout all of The Witcher's stories, you feel invested in the outcome. The characters that you meet along the way and the peril they find themselves in matter because you care about these people. I can't recall a recent game's story with as strong as a narrative as The Witcher 3's. The characterization and world building all rely on one character though. Geralt. Geralt of Rivia is no mute avatar. He has strong convictions and is a three-dimensional character. He's capable of cruelty and comedy, much like all of us. That's what gets you invested in this story, Geralt's own moral struggles, as well as your choices and consequences. His relationships and decisions draw you into each and every scene. Without the strong characterization of Geralt, the story wouldn't be nearly as engaging. At first, I wasn't a fan of the combat. I found that it was slow and a bit cumbersome. Once I got acclimated to it, I began to see the unique combat as challenging and even fun. At The Witcher's heart, it's a hack and slash game. You have a medium and heavy attack as well as magic spells and 2 dodge buttons. Geralt is lethal and agile. He weaves in and out of danger as he slashes through crowds of both man and beast. The best part about the battles is that Geralt can cancel his moves. Mid-animation, Geralt can dodge without having to let the animation finish. The combat shines once you know your enemy matchups. Each enemy type requires you to know what their offensive and defensive abilities are. If you're fighting humans, you can parry and then open them up to attack. The monsters you'll slay have their own timing as well as specific elemental weaknesses. Probably the best thing about The Witcher 3's combat is the crossbow. This weapon doesn't serve to slay enemies, but to interrupt and pester them. When an enemy is closing in to attack, one quick shot from this crossbow can stutter them just enough for Geralt to land a hit. You'll spend a lot of time in Geralt's Witcher sense as well. The Witcher sense is like a detective mode where you can search for clues or where to go next. It also helps you to find loot, which there's plenty. Since this is an RPG, there's a lot of menu time. The menus are in depth and you'll need to learn how to navigate them. Once you upgrade Geralt, you can assign new moves and buffs to make him stronger in magic, crafting, or combat. Geralt's gear is equally customizable. His armor and weapons have slots for runes to be placed in. These runes make spells more powerful, add more attack power or defense. The one thing that peeves me is that weapons and armor degrade from use. I know why this is, but it still doesn't mean I have to like it. Currency is tough to come by in The Witcher 3. That means you need to loot everything that isn't bolted to the floor. There are other distractions as you play The Witcher, with boxing matches, and horse racing. The bulk of the side activities outside of combat comes in the form of the card game, Gwent. I wasn't too interested in this game, but it could certainly be an excellent diversion for some gamers. The Witcher 3 is an amazing looking game for the PS4. When you first start the game, you're treated to some comic book style pictures with movement added with some kind of after effect. There are several of these throughout the game, and I like these short clips a lot. I know that there's a comic book for The Witcher, and this style is a great fit. The Witcher 3 has been out for a while, and it still manages to impress in the graphics department. The lighting, particle effects, and dynamic weather all play well together. I really like the reflective surfaces, from the glint of sunlight on Geralt's blade to the water effects. Everything looks great. There are some nice post-processing effects, and the rich colors of the world make the game's aesthetics pop. The interplay between the technical aspects of the graphics, mixed with its strong character designs, and the world building make for an astounding overall package. While The Witcher 3 is technically sound, its creative direction is much more impressive. For starters, the world building and storytelling told through the environments seeps through each location. My favorite of these locations is the Skellige Isles. Skellige is a wind-blown archipelago with Nordic-inspired architecture. Its remote location keeps it from being influenced by other powers that vie for control over the lands of The Witcher. All of the lands that you visit in The Witcher 3 have an excellent attention paid to natural environments. Trees litter the countryside, tall grasses sway in the wind, and rain pitter-patters as you travel along dirt roads. The Witcher 3's landscapes are serene and pastoral. If there wasn't so much danger around every bend, this land Land would be a lovely place to live. The architecture in The Witcher 3 is unique. Neglected castles litter the countryside with old cottages and huts in the surrounding areas. The cities are full of wooden structures, and there are many small accents to each building, making the cobblestone streets come alive and feel lived in. Opulent courts with stained glass and vaulted ceilings all feel impressive throughout the experience, regardless of which region you're in. My favorite architecture in The Witcher 3 comes from Toussaint. The Mediterranean-style stucco buildings and the massive castles all show off how visually appealing The Witcher 3 can be, if given the right circumstances. The characters and costume designs are equally engrossing as the environments. The armor, dresses, and doublets that all the major and minor NPCs wear are done with so much care. Small details like minor tears in someone's clothes ground them in the Witcher's world. It being a feudal society, most people may only have one shirt to wear, and therefore it would be dirty and tattered. By contrast, as Geralt goes through the courts and gilded halls of power, the pristine armor worn by castle guards is immaculate. Geralt himself can change his beard and facial hair styles. I was surprised that there weren't more options to modify him with. What options you do have fit Geralt's style nicely. The armor and swords are fitting for his approach to combat. Geralt's mobility is the most important thing. You won't find massive armor or claymores with Geralt. Each of his armor styles are unique, and there's a nice amount of variety to what you can find in the world. The character models have a high level of detail. There are very few technical issues with the character's clothes or hair. The occasional clipping will happen though. There is a realism and weight to the clothes as they drape over each character's shoulders and hang from their waist. The animations for the inhabitants, man, and monster alike of The Witcher's world are excellent. Characters move naturally, and Geralt's own movement is very fluid. Geralt hacks and slashes in his dance of death, which is befitting of the character. This leads me to my absolute favorite part of The Witcher 3, the character designs. Whatever wizardry enabled the folks at CD Projekt Red to do this is truly a marvel. The characters look natural yet fantastical at the same time. The minor details like the pink noses of young women or the sallow eyes of an obvious drunk are all done in a manner befitting a master Dutch oil painter. That master hand is equally capable of creating some horrendous monsters. This is best exemplified by the Croons. These are three sisters who disguise themselves as beautiful women but are in fact grotesque amalgamations of body parts and skin. The Croons sharing the screen with Ciri just shows how much flexibility the artists involved have in creating all manner of characters. The designs of griffins, dragons, and cyclops are all very cool and add to the overall mystique of the world. All of these aspects make The Witcher 3 an exceptionally strong visual package. The sound department of The Witcher is just as lush as the visuals. The three-dimensional sound design provides excellent feedback to the player. While in battle, you can place where your enemies are off screen. The weather effects are a nice touch while traversing across the plains, mountains, and valleys of The Witcher. The winds that blow through the trees sound a bit too loud to me, but they do seem pretty strong. Monster sound effects are very distinct. You'll quickly know if you're fighting a drowner or a necker long before you see them based on their oral cues.
Wraiths. This wouldn't be easy.
The soundtrack of The Witcher 3 has a distinct folk bend, from lutes to fifes to primitive percussion. This soundtrack is truly exceptional. This isn't an exclusively analog affair though. There are synths mixed into many tracks. They provide an ethereal layer to The Witcher's mystic, supernatural storytelling. Typically, I dislike female wailing in songs. I generally find it to be uninteresting, and the vocalization seems like a put-on. The Witcher 3's battle music is an exception. I really enjoy the battle music, and overall, I like the direction that the music was given. One of the cool things about The Witcher 3's DLCs is that each one got their own soundtrack. Heart of Stone has much lighter touches. While the same instrumentation is used as with the Wild Hunt soundtrack, the intensity of the arrangements has been dialed back. Blood and Wine's soundtrack mixes in accordions into the sound. This is probably my favorite of the three soundtracks. It has just enough frivolity and gravity to engage you the whole way through. Give this thing a listen. The voice acting is excellent in The Witcher 3. There isn't a single person in this cast who strikes me as hollow or uncommitted. Geralt's voice actor, in particular Doug Cockle, I found to be very convincing and a perfect match for the character. The voice direction is excellent. What's impressive is how much spoken dialogue is in this game. Every character is voiced, and the sheer amount of voiced lines is impressive. What's more incredible is that there are no stinkers. Every character is interesting to listen to. Overall, outstanding sound work.
Ready some tankards with guests.
Geralt! Ciri! When I learned Geralt had found you,
Glad to see you in one piece too, Dandelion.
Where have you two been?
The Witcher 3 is a game that will not be topped anytime soon. The breadth and depth of this game's world and its characters is truly impressive. The complete edition will run you about $50, but it seems to be on sale pretty regularly. At $50 though, The Witcher 3 is well worth the asking price. The difficulty in The Witcher 3 is more than manageable. I started the game on normal, and at first it was an ass whip. After 3 or 4 hours, I bumped up the difficulty one notch, and that suited me well. There was just enough punishment for mistakes without minor miscalculations ending in the kill screen. You can change the difficulty anytime though. It took me 45 hours to complete the main story, doing many of the side quests. The other 2 DLCs took me a combined time of 15 hours. That makes for a hefty amount of gameplay that I personally found completely engaging through and through. New Game Plus gives extra incentive to players who want to take on harder difficulties or chase the platinum. I've been wanting to play The Witcher 3 since it came out. It took me a while to find the time to play it, since I knew once I began playing The Witcher 3, I would want to finish the entire game. I plan to play The Witcher 3 for November only, but it took me the entire month of December as well to complete. In the time I spent with the game, I loved every minute of it. I know as gamers age, it's harder and harder to find time to play such time-consuming games. Whenever you get a chance to play The Witcher 3, you'll probably love it just as much as I did. This is Zach with Tanuki Games. Please remember that a like, a comment, or subscribe means a lot to me and of course the channel. Enjoy!
A Witcher can forget to eat, to drink, to breathe even. But a Witcher never ever forgets to care for his blade.
Yeah, I used to repeat that incessantly. Never tired of doing it either.
What creature was it?
Huh? Creature?
One that gave you the scar over your left eye. It's new. I don't remember it.
Souvenir from the Cockatrice of Spala. Another addition to the collection. Nothing special.